What's up, guys? Thanks so much for watching. So much happened in this project that I would love to discuss with you. If you are interested in some behind the scenes bonus footage of this project and just walk you through what I did, why I did it, and what I learned, stick around for this next bonus bit. I got this dresser on Facebook Marketplace from a lady that priced it way too high, and I just kept offering lowball things, and then eventually she said, okay, you can have it for $100. I did not see the top. There was very little pictures on the posting for it, but I knew it was a Drexel and I knew it was mid-century, so I just thought I need a project piece, something that I can really dig my hands into and learn. So I went and got it. And I feel like the Lord just shut my eyes on how bad it really was, because I just paid her $100, and then as soon as I took it home and I was like, there is so much work to do here, and work I've never done before. And then I'm like, you know what? This is good. This is good. I'm glad I didn't know. I would have never paid $100 for this. But to be honest with you, I needed something that was like totally beat up. Something that I didn't have to build, but beat up, to where I could try new things and learn new things, practice mimicking wood grain. And this one was a new one, veneering. Yeah, I've never done that before. I've seen videos, but I've never had a piece where I felt like I needed to completely re-veneer. So there was many ways I could go about this, and the chunks on the sides were my biggest project to tackle. I have had dressers where there was a little small nick that I needed to fill and then blend, but these had so many chunks missing out of the dresser. On the legs were just like barely hanging on, but again, thankfully structurally sound. So I had to do so much work on the legs, and then on the sides there were chunks, and then there was a completely missing chunk of veneer on the little lip part, and then the two side lips of the Drexel dresser was a very thick, surprisingly, piece of veneer that was so damaged there was just no way I was going to be able to match it. So I decided to break out my chisel. Who would have thought I would be chiseling a mid-century dresser? My thought process after doing some research and discovering that you can apply veneer to wood epoxy was to apply veneer onto the wood epoxy once I chiseled the remaining veneer out, and then glue the veneer on. That was my game plan, because I could not think of a way to find a piece of wood that is perfectly sized. I don't have that kind of equipment, and it was such a thin piece, flat piece, that I would need to get. And not only was it flat, it would need to be curved on the side, and I just didn't want to have to go searching for a perfectly flat piece of wood that is just so custom. So I thought, I'm just going to buy a bunch of wood, quick wood epoxy, and I'm going to fill this area. Then I'm going to use cement glue, or what's it called? Contact cement. And then I'm going to glue the veneer on. This was all completely brand new to me. I've never done this before, and I had been putting off this project for a while because I just didn't want to ruin it. But you know what? I couldn't have ruined it any more than it already was. So it was a win-win. I'm gonna practice. I'm gonna figure out what I need to do, and then it's got to be better than where we started. So I needed a lot of quick wood because the veneer area that I was replacing was so thick, which I wasn't used to. So I just got as much as I could and kind of overfilled. There's also certain areas where I did not mix the epoxy well enough, which was a mistake on my part. I had to uproot all that and then reapply with a properly mixed piece. And then I was going to work on flattening that piece. First I tried scraping. That was satisfying, but not extremely effective, until it came to a part I'll talk about. Then I decided to sand, but I also had to be careful because the wood grain on the top was going in a completely different direction. So I needed to make sure that I didn't ruin the wood grain any more than it already kind of was. And flatten it down. But then I remembered I also need to flatten it to the point where it has a small edged out lip, where the veneer can go in and it's flush to the other veneer. All I had for veneer was this black walnut score I found on Facebook Marketplace, and it was probably the best match that I had, even though it was a little bit darker than the wood that I was working with. I could blend it with some Mohawk powder stains. Once I finally figured out how to cut a straight line out of veneer, sounded very easy at the time, but it was actually a little bit difficult. I went ahead and tried to make sure that it would be flush, and it was about as flush as I was going to get it. And then I went ahead and started doing the contact cement. I added 2 layers to both the wood epoxy as well as the veneer. Let those dry 15 minutes each. And then I went ahead and bonded the pieces together. It bonded very quickly. And I also needed the veneer to curve a little bit to match onto the sides. This was a little bit tricky, but after I shaved everything down and sanded, I got the majority of it glued on. Then it came time for the blending. There was, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. About 11 pieces that I needed to blend versus 1 or 2 maybe that I would do in a typical project. And it was difficult, one would say. I spent a lot of time blending. What I wanted to do was just get a palette of different kinds of colors from the Mohawk powder stains I had. All I did was mix it with some thinned out polyurethane. So I did it that way and just started with a base, then I added another base, and then I added another base. And then I tried to mix colors that would match as perfectly as possible, add some wood grain. I am not perfect at this by any means. I feel like I know how to make it decent looking, but I would really like to one day be just so professional. I don't know why this is a goal of mine, maybe because I flip furniture, but I want to be able to make it look so almost unnoticeable, even if you're like super close. But don't get close because you will notice that it is blended with paint and stuff like that. But from far away, you really can't tell, and that is enough for me and enough for a seller from my experience. And I'm learning. Little by little by little by little by little, it added up to be pretty blended. This is the before and this is the after. It took me 10 full days to complete this project, and that's with me working like nonstop. Obviously I'm editing the video as well, and that slows things down, but just the project alone was a lot of time and attention and learning. So I just wanted to take my time and not rush the process. It gets done when it gets done, and to not worry about the rest. There's one side of me that really wants a quick flip and wants everything to be straightforward and just so easy money, easy content, whatever. But then there's the other side of me that wants to learn and grow, and I don't want to stay where I'm at, and I want to be better. But that comes with work. And you got to be okay with hard work. And you got to be okay with feeling silly and stupid. Maybe I shouldn't say the word stupid. We don't say that in my household. Just feeling like you don't know what you're doing. That is something I need to get more comfortable with. And now that there's a camera involved, people watching me do something that I don't know what I'm doing, there's also another element to that, but it's all about humility. You really don't know what you're doing until you just practice and practice and practice and practice, and then you start to kind of know what you're doing. I'm somewhere in the middle of that. It's interesting because I worked so hard and put so many hours into this project that I would love for that to turn into equaling a lot of money. But I worked so hard just to get it to like a base level. So these kinds of projects, I'm not out to make the most money. I'm really just trying to learn and then make some profit off of it. Thanks for coming along with me on this journey of the hardest project I have taken on to date. And if you love transformation videos like this, click like and subscribe. I will be posting 3 brand new projects a month, as well as some shorts along the way, and I'll see you next time. Transformation videos. Thanks. Thanks for watching.